Hi, my name is Mike, and in this video you join me in the 2020 Mazda 3 Sport, or Mazda 3 Hatchback if you're watching this in the United States. The Mazda 3 has always been known as the more sporty, compact car from the mainstream auto manufacturers. So is this 2020 model any different? Well, let's go and find out. Under the hood, you have two engine options. You can get a base 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, which develops 155 horsepower. Or you can get what I have here, which is a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine, and it develops 186 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. Now with power figures like that, it's not going to pin you to the back of your seat. But for about, I want to say 90%, 95% of all drivers out there, it's enough power. It gets you off the line in a relatively quick pace, and when you're on a highway, you don't need to strain the engine to overtake someone. Of course, a turbocharged option would be nice, and by the time you're watching this, Mazda probably would have announced a turbocharged engine, hopefully. But the great thing about having a naturally aspirated engine is that it's very responsive. So as soon as you put your foot down, it reacts immediately. There's none of that turbo lag that's associated with turbocharged engines. Fuel economy is not that bad either. It's rated for 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway and 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers in a city. During my time with the car, I can say that I averaged, I wouldn't say right in the middle of those two figures, but within those two figures, I'm averaging 8.4 liters per 100 kilometers, which is not too bad. Most of the driving that I've done has been city driving, but I also took it a little bit on the highways. As you may have noticed, I am in a manual version of the Mazda 3. Yes, you can still get a manual with the top spec Mazda 3. It's not as mechanical feeling as the transmission in the Mazda MX-5, but this was designed to be more user-friendly in city environments, not canyon carving, for example. My only complaint with it though, although it's not really the transmission's fault, it's more the car's fault, and that is, it's a bit too well insulated in here. Normally when I shift gears, I like to hear the engine. But in this car, it's so well insulated that I have a really tough time hearing the engine until I can only hear it once it reaches 3,000 or 4,000 RPMs. And by then, I'm already wasting a lot of gas. So it would be nice for the manual version of the Mazda 3 to have maybe a sportier exhaust or maybe even a little tachometer on the heads-up display so I don't have to keep looking down and to the left to the tachometer. In terms of handling, this new generation Mazda 3 does away with multi-link rear suspension in favor of simpler and cheaper torsion beam rear suspension. However, majority, if not all, Mazda 3 customers won't notice a difference because this 2020 Mazda 3 hatch still has a sporty handling characteristic. Steering feel is precise with a good amount of feedback to the driver. It's also not too heavily weighted nor is it too light. It's a good balance between enjoyment and daily driving. While the Mazda 3 is positioned more as a sporty compact car, the ride comfort is not sacrificed. Yes, the ride is a tiny bit firmer than in other hatchbacks, but you can still drive over potholes without feeling like your teeth will shatter. Front occupants have a generous amount of space with the driver receiving a 10-way power-adjusted seat, but only with the premium package on this GT trim, or the luxury package if you go for the lower GS trim. The passenger, however, has to make do with just a simple 4-way manually adjustable seat. Rear occupants don't have quite as much room as the front, especially if they're adults. For kids though, the rear seats are just fine, but adults won't want to be there for very long. Trunk space is generous at 569 liters with the rear seats up and 1,334 liters with the rear seats down. As mentioned earlier, the cabin is very well insulated from outside noises. This makes for a very comfortable and relaxing drive, but with the manual transmission, you really want to hear that engine so you know when to shift. But I guess the majority of Mazda 3s will be sold with the automatic, so a quiet cabin will be a plus, and it'll just add to the comfort and premium feel that Mazda are going for. The biggest change to the Mazda 3's tech is the new infotainment system. It is displayed on an 8.8-inch screen, but it's not a touchscreen. It can only be controlled by a rotary knob on the center console. But you know what? I'm okay with that because this system was designed to work well with the rotary controls, and it does. The only time it can get frustrating to use the rotary knob is when you're using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Those systems were designed to work better with a touchscreen, so at times it can be a bit frustrating to operate them. The rest of the interior feels like a premium product. Soft leather covers the majority of the dash as well as places that you often touch, like the door panels. The controls also have a premium feel to them when you operate them. They have a very satisfying click. Overall though, this new generation Mazda 3 feels like a premium car, but without that premium price tag. The 2020 Mazda 3 Sport starts at just over $21,000 Canadian and can go all the way up to just under $29,000 Canadian. That's for the front-wheel drive manual version. If you want all-wheel drive, then add on about another $2,000, but then you can only have it with a 6-speed automatic. You can't have manual and all-wheel drive, it has to be front-wheel drive. So at that price point, is the Mazda 3 worth it? Oh, absolutely. It's a fun car to drive, and it's also very premium feeling, and that's what Mazda is going for. But it doesn't break the bank. I mean, it's still a sub $30,000 Canadian car. So I would totally recommend the 2020 Mazda 3 as the go-to hatchback to get if you're looking for a compact car. If you want to know more about the 2020 Mazda 3, I wrote a comprehensive review of it over on my website. You can find the link in the video description. And as always, I'll see you in the next car or truck or hopefully motorcycle, but it'll probably be an SUV. Anyway, take care and thanks for watching.